Well, that's us leaving Korat now and making our way across to Buriram. Today there's a big festival at a major Khmer temple in Buriram. The temple's name is?
Phanom.
Huh?
Phanom Rung.
Phanom Rung is the temple, Khmer temple, very famous temple in Buriram, and we're going to go down. We're going to go down there and see it. Apparently, there's a procession and there's dancers and all sorts of things going on. So that's today's video. So if you're interested, please keep watching. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Well, it's with heavy heart that we leave the border of Khao National Park. It's been a pleasure being here, and I'm looking forward to the day we can come back again. But let me tell you a bit about the park itself, which may be of interest if you ever intend to come here. There's no doubt that this is probably one of the best national parks in Thailand for visitors, where it is relatively easy to see some of the very impressive animals that are rolling around the park. Established in 1962 as Thailand's first national park, it is the third largest national park in Thailand. Situated mainly in Nakhon Ratchasima province, which is Korat, Khao extends into Prachinburi, Saraburi and Nakhon Nayok provinces. The main checkpoint in the park is 180 kilometers from Bangkok. The park covers an area of 2,168 kilometers squared, including rain and evergreen forests as well as grasslands. 1,351 meters high, Khao Rom is the highest mountain within the park. The average altitude of the national park ranges from 400 to 1,000 meters above sea level. Khao Yai is part of the Dong Quai Khao Yai Forest Complex, a World Heritage Site declared by UNESCO, covering 5 protected areas from Khao Yai to the Cambodian border. The other protected areas are Pang Sida National Park, Tap Lan National Park, Ta Praya National Park and Dong Yai Wildlife Sanctuary. Weather-wise, the rainy season here is from May to October, with very high humidity, and with the most rainfall expected in September. The rest of the year is normally quite dry. November to February are the winter months, and with the height of the national park, the temperatures here are of course much lower than other areas in Thailand. They range from 22 degrees C during the day and down to a chilly 9 or 10 degrees C during the night. Wildlife in the park, this is its big attraction to many visitors, is the wildlife. Mammals wise, I don't think there are many other parks in the country with more impressive wildlife actually, but of the easily accessible national parks in Thailand, Khao Yai is no doubt the best option for looking for animals. Apart from Buri National Park, Khao Yai is the next best park in the country, where it is relatively easy to run into elephants and not in a pickup with a bit of luck. Some other animals often seen in the park are the northern pig-tailed macaque, the barking deer, the sambar deer, the gibbon, porcupine and the civet. Exclusive series seen from time to time are the sun bear, the Asian black bear, the otter and the jackal. Tigers used to roam the park, but there haven't been any seen for quite some time in the park actually. But camera traps have revealed a significant tiger population in the neighbouring Tap Lan and Pang Sida National Park. So recently a wildlife passage has been built under a busy motorway east of Khao Yai, raising the hope that the tigers will make their way back to Khao Yai from Tap Lan at some point. For those that like to study birds, and I'm not talking about the voyeurs and soy six or the people like me that like to sit on the beach and watch the nice eye candy that goes around. I'm talking about the ornithological members amongst my viewers who may have an interest in the actual feathered type of birds. This park has one of the biggest population of hornbills in Thailand. Great hornbills and oriental pied hornbills are often seen flying over the visitor centre here. They have a huge range of birds and some very rare species as well. So if you are into bird watching and would like to know more about it, I suggest you go onto the Khao site and see what there is actually here. Apparently the best time to visit Khao for bird watching is during the dry months and during March to April, when the big bird migration happens here in Thailand. Now on to something a bit less popular, reptiles. Khao has a very interesting reptile fauna. So far there's over 85 species recorded. Of the pit viper species in the country, 3 can be found in the park. Vogel's pit viper, large-eyed pit viper, and the white-lipped pit viper. Although the pit vipers are the most common pit viper species in the country, Vogel's pit viper and large-eyed pit viper are more common in the park, mainly because the park is of mountainous aspect and white-lipped pit vipers prefer lower elevations. If you want to know, yes, the vipers are extremely toxic and they can be lethal. Not always, but they can be lethal. And if you're bitten by one, if you don't do something about it quickly, death can occur from between 1 hour to 3 hours. I actually knew a girl in Pattaya once that was walking to work and she accidentally stood on a viper and it bit her. I helped that girl go to hospital and put her in the memorial hospital down near the beach, and went back to see her the next day, but she had passed. It had been a viper that had bitten her. Very sad. There is a visitor centre in the park, and that's about 14 kilometres into the park from the northern entrance. It is a nice and open area with a stop and a look around. Not often, a few of the very common animals are seen around the visitor centre. Almost daily the monkeys and the somber deer, etc., and many more are deeper in the forest. Sadly, some visitors release this is a Thai thing where they try to gain merit by bringing animals to the park, and they release them in the park hoping that the animals are going to have a better life and they're going to get some merit awarded to them for their good deeds. It's often seen turtles round the areas of the visitor centre, sunbathing on rocks, and these are not normally found in the park or in the country. So, that's about the summary of the park, I think, and we're now heading on to Buriram. So that's a little bit of history for you and a little bit of the information about the Khao Park. I'm looking forward to the day I can come back here myself. But for now, let's head on to Buriram.
I'm telling you to do a U-turn. I'm telling you to do this U-turn here.
ไปได้อ่ะหลับรถ
You cannot read what it's saying, you know.
อีก300 เมตรเลี้ยวซ้าย
Okay, go. No more yet, more.
ซ้ายแล้วคุณจะถึงจุดหมาย
นี่ไงสาธารสาธาราซาโต้ this one
Is that the entrance, huh?
มาถึงแล้ว
Well, it looks like we've arrived at our hotel anyway. So we'll go and check in and see what it's like.
Ngồi đàn một khúc hát dành tặng những ai đang buồn, buồn phiền này hay hân hoan kia số kiếp cũng đã an bài. Ngồi đàn một khúc ca dành tặng những ai lạc đường, mỏi chờ ngày trông gai gian lao vững bước bước tiếp sẽ qua đường. La 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 wa pa pa pa. La 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 wa ya 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 ya. Ngồi đàn một khúc hát dành tặng trái tim buồn sầu, một cuộc tình không như trong mơ xin gió hay cuốn xa mờ. Ngồi đàn một khúc ca dành tặng những ai yêu mình, nhìn dòng đời trôi qua vươn vai thôi cố gắng sẽ thấy trưởng thành.
Well, we had a fairly uneventful drive from Khao National Park to Buriram. I think it took us just over 2 hours. And we got to the hotel. The hotel was very nice, and I'd hoped to do a little bit of filming there before we left. But it was pointed out that to us by the hotel staff that if we wanted to go and see this procession here today, we would have to leave fairly quickly. So one thing I was determined to do was to have a quick swim in the swimming pool just to cool down a bit, which I did with my daughter, and then we hurried up and changed and we left, and we done the journey down here to Phanom Rung temple, and got here. It was absolutely teeming with people, and the procession was, fortunately, the procession was just starting. Now, I don't really get much idea what the procession is about, really, because it seems that it's from different districts in the Buriram region. These districts or ampos get a group of people together and they put on a presentation along with some animal depiction for their particular region, and they come here and they parade down to represent their particular region, and it's all very nice, and it's obviously well supported by Thai people. But I don't think that there's any particular religious aspects to what they do, and it's mainly just a social thing and a bit of fun for everybody, I think. And good on them. It's a bit of light relief. There is apparently some important aspects happen in April. I believe on the 13th, this temple was designed in such a way that 4 times a year, the rising sun, or the sun in the evening, crosses the temple in such a way that it's reflected out through all 15 access doors into the temple, and this happens 4 times a year, and it's quite a spectacular thing to see, apparently. But a lot of these things, we even have it in the UK, the Druids with the Stonehenge, etc. These people were all very much au fait with the movement of the moon and the sun, and they built their structures to show encompass their beliefs on the practicalities of the sun and the moon and the movements. So I'm not surprised to see them here in Thailand also, but it's intriguing that these people so many hundreds and hundreds of years ago were so damn clever that they could do it, you know. The history of the temple itself is actually quite intriguing, because apparently back in just before the 10th century, so over 1,000 years ago, Cambodia was the biggest. It wasn't called Cambodia then; it was called something similar, but not Cambodia. But they seem to be the biggest and most powerful authority in the area, and they took their roots. The Khmer people who lived in Cambodia, they took their roots from Hinduism in India, etc., and that is what their religion stemmed from. And they built some fantastic temples, mainly in Cambodia. You talk about the Angkor Wat and the other one beside it there, which are beautiful temples built of sandstone, similar to this Phanom Rung temple here, which is completely built of sandstone also, and weathered time quite well, actually, although it did go through, I think, about a 14-year restoration period at one time, and then it was presented to UNESCO as a World Heritage site. I don't know if it was adopted, but it was certainly presented, and it certainly needs to be. It should be, because it's a very beautiful and impressive relic from over 1,000 years ago. These Khmer people, they moved into this area in Buriram, and they more or less claimed it as part of Cambodia, and they carried on moving across and moved in and took over parts of Burma. And it wasn't till sometime after the 10th century when Thailand started to expand, and the capital was Ayutthaya, and the king in Ayutthaya didn't like the fact that they had these Khmer people living just up the road from him, so he decided he needed to do something about it and get the land back for Siam, as it was then. So he got a few of his hard boys, and they moved up to Buriram area, and they sort of started kicking these people out and kicking them back into Cambodia. I won't bore you with all the facts. I've done a fair bit of reading on the Khmer people, actually, and it's quite interesting, but all history from that long ago can be quite interesting, but it can also be quite boring as well, because it's no longer of any consequence to where we are now, really. But I suppose it must be in some reason. That's a silly thing to say, but anyway, that's the way it is. Now, this video has of this procession has turned out to be a bit of a nightmare, actually, because the sound, the beating drums, and the sort of chanting sound of the music turns out that it's copyrighted. I thought it was live music that was being played here, but it's not. It's a sound recording, as I've since found out, and it's copyrighted. So I produced this video once, and I've done a lot of work on it, only to submit it to find out that it was copyrighted, and they rejected the video. because of the copyright. The copyright belongs to a Mr. Hans Zimmer, who produced a YouTube video actually on the Japanese suicide pilots, etc. And the music was created for the video he created then, and it's immediately picked up by YouTube, obviously, because it was used and it was created and used initially for YouTube. So unfortunately, I've had to take the initial soundtrack away from the video and replace it with this boring narrative from myself. Well, that was a big cultural event here in Buriram. I don't suppose it's to everybody's taste, but it's a big bit of history here in Thailand, and for those that did enjoy it, please, I hope you'll subscribe, click, press like. If you've got any questions or queries about where we've been, please put them below. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.